I believe that we're live on the right Facebook group. Hi, guys. What are we? We are 11 minutes late. I have no idea what to say. First of all, we were having technical difficulties. Then, Christina, you know me by now. I went live on the wrong page. So I went live on my Facebook page. So anyway, we've got some likes. Thank you, Caroline, for the like. Thank you, Christina, for the like. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. And today could not have gone off more perfectly than it did right now. Me just being not perfect as a host of this challenge, having technical difficulties, going live on the wrong page. Because have a look at that quote, guys. Our dreams require us to betray who we should be. Now, I'm sure I should have been on time. I'm sure I should have gone live on the right page. I'm sure all of these things should have happened, but they didn't, and that's okay. That's okay, because sometimes we need to, like the quote says, betray who we think we should be to become the dream of who we really are, which is the fullest expression of who we are. And isn't that why you're here? Isn't that why you're here today on this challenge? Because you're wanting to fully express all of who you are. So today we're completing our 5-day challenge, and it is with bitter, sweet sorrow that we say goodbye, but we know that we're moving to a new space in our journey together. And I have a surprise for you guys. We're going to just launch straight into our surprise. I don't want to say I've saved the best for last, because we have had some truly, truly amazing people on the 5-day challenge. But the person that I'm about to bring on, I just told him that I think he's my soul brother. he was like, okay, cool. You know, he knows me now. So he's like, yeah, sure, Connie, I know you. It's cool. But when you hear what he's going to be sharing with us today, I think you will 100% resonate. We're going to be looking at expressing, witnessing others and being witnessed, witnessing ourselves as a form of healing. We're going to delve deeper into it, and it's going to be so, so, so powerful. We're going to be looking at your true voice, not your ego, not your intellect, not censoring, and freedom. And we're also going to be looking at embodying and being fully free. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our second good-looking guest host, Drew. Hi, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Connie. Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. And so, what did you think about what happened in the beginning? You know, you're like this guest, and you know, we were late, and there were technical difficulties. Tell me about your experience.
It happens. And I think that when things like that happen, and as they do, and they always do, um, there's nothing you can do about it except keep going. And that's what you did. And that's what we're doing here. So the opportunity for us to beat ourselves up or to panic or to uh, have all this anxiety and to, uh, just go into this downward spiral when things aren't working out how we want them, how they should work out. There's an opportunity to do that. But there's also an opportunity to use it as an opportunity, to use it to learn, use it to move forward. And I think what we're doing right now with it is exactly the best you can do with it. Say, hey, this is what happened. And what are we learning from this? How can we use it to teach? How can we use it to share? How can we use it to move everyone forward? And I think the biggest thing, especially in this challenge, is being an example of what's real. So often we have this expectation on ourselves. We look at the world, we look at huge production value, we look at people who censor all their flaws and only show their best part, and we say,
Hmm.
hey, you know what, I have to be perfect, everything has to go right, like I have to, right out of the gate, be channel 2 news production value, Hollywood value, and it's just not real. It's just not how life goes, and we don't get to see all of those uh, mess ups uh, because they're hidden. And so when we are doing lives, when we're broadcasting ourselves, when we're sharing our truth and speaking from our truth, sometimes it's a little messy. And I think being willing to be in that mess appropriately, not
Yeah.
airing our dirty laundry or making a drama out of it, but willing to get our hands a little dirty, willing for the control to be lost, for a bit, is very important, and it's not something
Yeah.
that we usually get taught. So,
Yeah. This is so good because you speak, Drew, about this idea of witnessing. And I think, those people who walk with me know that I always talk about growth and contribution, how everything that happens, I really believe is divinely meant to happen so you can learn and you can grow into awareness of what it is that you're meant to be sharing with people so that you can contribute that. So I always talk about this idea of growth. And it's interesting as you use a word which is witnessing. So what role does witnessing play in terms of camera and looking at our experiences and expressing our truth?
well, I think it's pretty much everything. The whole purpose, we record stuff, we take photos, we write things down, we use all of this media is to share. And sharing is when we share our truth, our creativity, ourselves, our ideas, our voice. It's not pointless to not have an audience, right? It's not completely pointless to not be witnessed, but the very fact of sharing requires witnessing, right? I mean, we can share with ourselves, I suppose, and we can speak our truth. But even if we speak that to ourselves, we're still witnessing ourselves. The space, the universe is still witnessing us doing this. So I think that when we're broadcasting ourselves on video, when we're sharing on video, it is it is one of the most tangible forms of witnessing. And it's in that tangibility that we can't deny it. And I think oftentimes when we speak, when we do share, it disappears. It's ephemeral. But on video, it's tangible. There's proof. And it allows us to witness in ways that we've never been able to witness ourselves or each other before.
You know, I once did this challenge. It was actually a self-saboteur challenge. And what we would do is we would observe ourselves and during the day, and then we would note where we're sabotaging ourselves. And then there was the second part of the exercise, which was witnessing. So, what we would be doing is we would be witnessing through our observation of ourselves, but then also we would be witnessing for the other person. So, holding the space for the other person. So, where does, because you also talk about witnessing others, right? What type of role does that play in terms of our growth and full expression?
It's a great question. The This is going to go a little spiritual here, but there's a basic premise that there's nobody else out there, right? This is one of the things that I teach. It's based on a more connected, oneness, united principle. It's not a discounting of the duality, right? It's not discount. Obviously, you're somebody else, and I'm somebody, and obviously there's 7 billion other people. But when we look at it at this deeper spiritual level and recognize that there's really nobody else out there. And I know you talked in one of the earlier days about the mirror principle and these sorts of things. And if we take that to its fullest expression, we see that what we see out there is a reflection of what's in here, and vice versa. So when we can witness other people and see what's going on for them and in them, we know that that's something in ourselves as well. And so in all of the workshops that I do, we use something called feedback. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds, that we give and we receive feedback from other people. So we'll actually watch people on film, on video, and witness what they're doing and be the mirror for them. And that serves two purposes. The first is they get the feedback, right? They get to hear and see how they're showing up in the world reflected back to them. And the second purpose it serves is for the person who's doing the witnessing, giving the feedback. And they get to see themselves in the other person. They get to see their own shadow material. They get to see their own light material. They get to see everything that they see in themselves projected on to this other person. And so it offers a really non-confrontational way to see what's going on for ourselves. So we get to see what's going on for us. If you can see it in somebody else, that means you have it in yourself. If you can see the gifts in somebody else, that means you have that potential in yourself too. If you can
So
see
good.
if you can see the shadow in somebody else, if you can judge somebody else, that's in you as well.
Yeah.
And so that provides both people this opportunity, this give receive cycle of witnessing.
I love that infinity sign, right? That knowing that we are divinely connected with everyone. And it brings me to another question, which is, how do we begin to express from a space of truth rather than ego? Because like you're saying, the light within me, I love namaste, the light within me greets the light within you. And how is it that we can begin to communicate? You've got that's also right. I love it. How is it that we can communicate in the awareness that, okay, this is just a witnessing exercise. This camera is just an opportunity for me to see my shadow sides. Yes, this person is actually, we're connected. That light is the same light within me. That, okay, I'm getting irritated by what that person's doing. It's probably something within me, and kind of using the camera as an opportunity for us to share. How do we I have lots of questions, but let me be clear in succinct. Like Rob said, right? Let me be clear and succinct. The question is, how do we express from our truth and not from our ego? When you're like, oh my God, I'm late. I'm not being perfect. How do you express from the truth and not from the ego? What are those steps?
Well, you just answered the question. if you guys noticed her movements, so I use and came up with a modality called cinesomatics. And cinesomatics basically is about how can we use movement and video and feeling and feedback in order to do exactly what you're saying. And so a big part of that is watching the movements. So the movement that you just demonstrated, you showed some very, very important things. The first thing you showed was ego. And by ego, you did it up here. So this is our head, right? So this is our mind, our thoughts, our thinking, our ego, our intellect. And then you said, well, how do we express from our true self? Well, you went down here. You went down here into the heart, into the body. And this is where we feel. And this is where we live. We embody the embody. Well, no, we embody the body. And so the way to do that is exactly what you just demonstrated. It's rather than coming from up here and sharing our thoughts and dictating and ego and fears and judgments and perfection and stories and all of this stuff from the head, we go into the body and we express from feeling. We let the innate intelligence, we let who we really are express itself through the body. And that doesn't mean necessarily literally expressing it through grandiose movements. This is not a speaking technique, right? To, be Italian and go, ah, da, 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 da. This is about actually feeling the words as they come through your mouth, the words that you feel rising up from the body, that come from the heart, that come from a deeper place, that come from something that is not trapped in the confines of the intellect and the ego. And so when we speak from our head, we are usually speaking from what we already know. We are speaking from our stories. We are speaking from this little tiny box up here. And that little tiny box, that little ego, is separate, and it has no access to the infinite. It has no access to the intelligence beyond ourselves, the collective unconscious. The body is what's plugged in to all of that. The body is where we can feel, and that feeling is how we access the intuition. That feeling is how we access our truth. And one of the reasons why we don't do that is because we are scared of it, because the ego is scared of it, because it is raw, it is authentic, it is genuine, it is vulnerable, it is filled with both the light and the darkness of ourselves. And so we avoid feeling while we express, because at some level, we are terrified of feeling it, of being judged, of being seen. And that really comes down to the crux of it. We both simultaneously are craving to be heard and to be seen. But at the same time, we are terrified to truly be heard and to truly be seen. And that is a big reason why a lot of people don't like being on film. They don't like seeing themselves. They don't like watching themselves on camera, because they start to see themselves, and we start going a little crazy when we are going back and forth between the two. Oh my God, I don't want to be seen. Let me filter. Let me Snapchat filter. Let me Instagram filter. Let me get rid of all my blemishes. Let me plastic surgery. Let me do all this stuff. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, we do the same thing, right? Like, let's censor myself. Let me not express. Let me not say the fucking word that I really want to say. Let me dilute it. Let me dial it back. I don't want to be too big. I don't want to be too much. All of these stories are running us unconsciously. And until we're able to feel into those, until we're able to be witnessed, until we're willing to be seen for that whole gamut of who we are, which, by the way, is pretty wonderful.
Well, why, thank you. All of us, you guys are all wonderful. Put in a comment, right? In the comments saying, I am wonderful. Yeah. If you're watching this, even if it's on the replay, write in, I am wonderful. That's awesome, Drew. Carry on.
Yeah, because we get so caught up in trying to be perfect. We get so, I have this phrase, for perfection is a prison. And when you demonstrated the exact opposite of this in how you hosted this call, right? Clearly, we didn't start perfectly. But if you would have been panicking about that, if you would have been beating yourself up, maybe you would have said, well, fuck it. Well, I screwed up. I'm going to hide. I'm going to run away. I'm a disappointment. And you could have started apologizing profusely and just things, but you didn't, right? Because there's no such thing as perfection. But when you are able to let go of the need to be perfect, you actually start aligning and acting from that place that is closer to what you may consider perfect or excellent or divine than you would by trying to be perfect and not wanting to get messy.
Mm. This is so powerful, and I think, you know, life is a journey, and it's that journey to how can I be that fullest expression of me. Camera, I love. It's the best way to witness being on stage, you know, all of that stuff. You know, if you could give us maybe one tip on how to not censor, how to, you know, a lot of the people watching, we've been speaking a lot recently about intuition, just allowing the flow, allowing not censor, because to me, that is my soul's purpose, is to live in the fullest expression of myself, right? So I'm trying to be that every day. So how do we not censor? How do we connect with that intuition and just flow? What tip could you give us?
One word: stop. It's not about doing. It's not about a technique. It's not about doing more. It's not about a strategy. It's not about some sort of tactic to overcome and uh, destroy the fear and the censoring. It's not about the 14 steps in order to be your true voice. No. All of that stuff gets in the way. It's about stopping. So,
Mm.
what do? Well, you stop censoring yourself. Okay, well, no shit. How do you do that? Well, okay, what's the voice that comes up? Well, the voice that comes up that says, I need to be validated, or I need to be approved. I need approval. I need this. Well, you listen to that voice, you stop suppressing that voice, and you stop acting from that place. Great. Well, then what's next? Okay, well, now I'm terrified of actually being accepted and being loved because I don't feel like I'm good enough. Okay, well, stop that. Stop stop fighting all of these stories and feelings and suppressing them. Stop the suppression of all the stuff. You have to start feeling all of these things or they will run you. All of these things are what's causing us to censor ourselves. So we stop suppressing what we feel. We stop lying. We stop censoring. We stop trying to sound perfect. We, we stop all of this. I could, if you want, I can go. There's a list. Like in my book, I have 4 pages of really what to stop. Because what happens is that we start getting into our head and we start being in our head, thinking about stuff, thinking about these strategies. Okay, what's this tip and tactic that I can do? And they might be helpful. They might work. They might get you through that one talk, that one conversation.
Mm.
The problem is it's unsustainable. Are you going to do this tip for the next 40 years? No. So the only thing that's sustainable, the only thing that's real, the only thing that's true is who we are underneath that stopping. And so when we can begin to stop all the neurotic stuff, all the compulsion, all of the need to be who we think we should be, it comes back to the quote. You have to be willing to betray the story that says that you need to be perfect. You need to be willing to betray who you should be. You need to be willing to betray all of the censoring, the suppression, all of the neurotic impulses that keep you a prisoner to your past. And once you stop that stuff, it might not happen on one filming of yourself on video. The things that I'm sharing are sustainable. They are lifelong transformational things. You do it once, you stop the story, and you really stop it, it's done. Once you stop censoring, great. Then you go to that next layer, then a layer deeper and a layer deeper until more and more and more of what you're expressing is coming from your true self rather than a story, rather than an ego, rather than a persona. All right, here is where we have arrived. The persona. We have an egoic persona, an image of ourselves, an avatar. Think the easiest way to think about this: social media. You create an Instagram profile, you create a Facebook profile, video game profile, whatever it is. That's a little avatar. Now you are interfacing with the world through this little image of yourself. And guess what? That little image of yourself is now interfacing with other people's little images of themselves. And I say little because they are tiny compared to the truth of who we really are. So,
Okay.
what does this have to do with censoring and speaking? Well, when you can stop and drop this persona, everything that you say, everything that comes through here is coming from who you are. And you might mess it up. It might be silly. It might be stupid. You might feel all of the stuff, but it'll be real. And the more you can express from that realness, that truth, that vulnerable place, not this persona that's trying to be perfect to do it right every single time, the more that you don't have the need to censor, the more you don't have all of the needs to keep that persona held up. And so you just begin to share from that place. And it is vulnerable, and it does take a lot of courage. It takes a lot more courage to speak from that place than it does to keep your persona up and then just run some vulnerability strategy from the persona. It's not real vulnerability. You're still hiding behind this image. So my invitation, the invitation here is to begin to dissolve that persona, to begin to drop it, to begin to stop all of these things that we do to defend ourselves and protect others from the truth.
I'm loving this. Can we have some love, please? If you're watching this, can you send some love? Can you send some hearts? Because I've just had a mind-blowing moment. You know, people only, it's like Drew, you were saying, you know, people always reflect that which is the light within you. And sometimes, you know, I share a story which is quite funny. I was working with someone for like almost 3 years, and 3 years in, she sends me this email and she's like, "Oh my God, Connie, life is about growth and contribution. And I've just realized it." I said to her, she's like, I know you've told me for 3 years, but I just got it. And it's like you're saying, we're going deeper and deeper and deeper. And you talk about, Drew, embodying.
Yes.
And you know what's interesting is if I take a moment of vulnerability to share with everyone, the whole experience of today's Facebook Live has been a very ego. I was like, okay, you know, it has to be perfect. We've got the perfect slides. Then we're running late, and then the Wi-Fi is not working, and all this energy keeps going up, right? And then I'm like, I have to move rooms, and then the lighting is bad, and you know, then you're in the wrong position because I had created a filter, right, in all my other lives. And of course, guys, everything is about the balance, right? Balance between masculine and feminine. Yes, and you know, sometimes it is good to have a good distance. By the way, a good distance is about 1 meter. A lot of you are quite close in your Facebook lives. Just a bit of a feedback. Try and be a little bit like chest high is the perfect height, because then you can Then you can use your arms a little bit more. Just a little bit of a feedback there. But as you were talking, Drew, I was feeling into your words, and I felt like my soul was hearing what it needed to hear. And I forgot about the bad lighting. I forgot about not having it perfect. I forgot about the slides. And I reconnected with embodying, stopping, and just being, stopping all of the thoughts. Because I think, if I think, excuse me, everything that stops me from doing a live, it's the filter, it's the persona. And Oprah shares this beautiful quote about, someone said to her, this is my favorite quote at the moment. I think I said it about 4 times in this challenge, but she said, someone said to her, "But Oprah, you're a brand." And she said, "What?" This was in the beginning, right? And then over time, she realized that she has this beautiful quote where she says, "A brand is based on the choices that you make every day." And I think we can begin to embody who we are through the conscious choices we make in the witnessing of ourselves in the present moment. Because if you're able to witness yourself like it just did, like, oh, this is wrong, this is the should, and you're able to witness that, and you're able to let it go and allow yourself just to come back and center and speak from there, that is freedom. What would you say freedom is to you, Drew? Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you? Can I have some love if that resonates with you? Share in the comments what resonated with you about what I just shared. We'd love to hear. And by the way, this is my last question for Drew. So if you've got any other questions for him, please share in the Facebook comments. So, I'll ask him on your behalf. So my question is, what is freedom? How do we create freedom? Do you resonate with what I just said?
Well, I think everything, not to discount the question, but I think everything that we just talked about leads to freedom. I think the dropping of the persona, the stopping, stopping leads to freedom. And I think that in order to stop that stuff and really show up, it requires us to take responsibility. And this is one of the things that I say very often. Absolute freedom requires absolute responsibility.
Mm.
Absolute freedom requires absolute responsibility. The more responsibility that you take on in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in your job, in your school, in your own life, the more freedom that you have. And that's a very worldly way to see it, right? The more actual responsibility you take on. Think about it: a CEO versus an entry level data entry, technician. Who is more free in their life? Well, I think it's obvious that the CEO has a lot more freedom in their life. They have a lot more responsibility, but there's a freedom there that comes from it. And so that's the very worldly, practical way of seeing freedom and responsibility. The more internal way is taking responsibility for everything in ourselves, everything in our life, everything that happens to us, everything that happens for us, everything that we do, everything that we do to and for those around us in the space, in the world. The more, whether you want to believe it's true or not, whether you want to believe you are responsible for that trauma you had 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. What matters is you take it on anyway, because until you assume responsibility for everything in your life, you will be a victim to that thing. You will be helpless to that thing, and you will be held hostage by that person, by that situation, by that feeling, by that story, by that trauma until you own it. And when you own it and feel it fully and take full responsibility for it, you will be limited in your life because those things will somehow run you. They will influence your decisions, right? You have a story that in fourth grade you got asked to speak in front of the class and you were humiliated, you were embarrassed. And so guess what? Ever since then, subconsciously or consciously, you don't want to be in front of people. Well, if you spend the whole time blaming the kids in your class that they're just jerks and mean people, and they probably were, right? Like it might be true, you're still going to be held by that story. It's still going to have its hooks into you. It's still going to grasp you. But when you can own it, when you can say, all right, that happened to me. I see what happened. I own it. I don't need to blame someone for it. And then you make a new choice. You have to make a new choice. You can take responsibility, but unless you make a new choice, it's going to stay the same. You can still own something, but until you make a new choice and say, you know what, I'm going to show up differently in my life, I'm going to choose something different, you'll still get the same results. So when we can take responsibility for as much as possible in our life, we end up having more freedom, not less. And we think, right, there's this reverse wiring going on. A lot of people think, oh, the more responsibility I take on, the more that I own of myself, the harder life gets. The more that I have to do. But it's the complete opposite. So when you can begin to take on more responsibility in your life, you'll have more freedom. Financial freedom, emotional freedom, freedom of expression, all of this stuff.
It's all to do with semantics, isn't it? It's shifting the belief system. It's shifting how you see something. It's changing that perspective.
Our words define our world.
Yeah. You know, and I'm going to share in the comments now whilst I'm thinking about it, whilst I'm present. I feel now is the perfect time. I'm going to share the link to your book. Drew has written this amazing book called Stop, right? Stop there.
Why you're still stuck.
Stop. Why you're still stuck. And it talks about stopping, right?
Yes.
And so I've just put the link in the chat so that you guys can pre-order his book. I'm excited. Can I have a signed autograph, please? Well, actually, can we all have a signed autograph? Who wants a signed autograph? Put in the chat, signed autograph. Drew's he's a part of the Facebook group. So make sure that you befriend him and send him some love and share your thoughts. I'm reading some of the comments here, Drew, and Helen is saying there's some great shifts going on. The girls are loving it. Laura is loving it. Her cats are loving it as well.
Good.
So some great feedback for you there. So definitely pre-order his book there. And can I definitely have a signed copy? Can you say that in front of everyone so that you can take responsibility for?
Oh, put me on the spot, huh? Yeah, we'll get you a signed copy.
That's amazing. I do this. This is what I do with my guys all the time. Is I put in.
It's tricky.
Christina would like a signed copy. Karina would like a signed copy. You're welcome, Drew. You're 100% welcome.
It's my honor.
So we're going to. Helen is like she wants the Kindle, but like a personalized note from you. Laura's like she wants a hard copy. Look, my guys are not picky at all. But we know what we want. They're speaking their truth.
Oh,
they're not filtering. They're
it.
not censoring.
Good. Ask for what you want.
I love it. So we're going to begin to start completing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the growth work with you. But if you have any questions for Drew, feel free to share them in the comments. And some great news. Thank you so much, Drew. Drew is going to be joining us for the private Q&A in the implementation group. So if you have the Zoom link, you're just going to jump over. If you don't have the Zoom link and you want to join, just put in the comments implementation group and I'll send you the link to join us. Okay, so if you want to join us afterwards, implementation group in the comments. Any questions for Drew, put it down. My problem, Drew, is that I speak too much. I need to be very clear. Like, number one, if you want a signed copy, put signed copy. Number two, if you want to be a part of the implementation group, write implementation group. Number three, if you have any questions, and I hear people are joining, I can hear it in my ear. Number three, what was number three? See, I get distracted. Signed copy, implementation group. Oh, and questions. Questions for the lovely Drew as well. Okay, so let's go to our last invitation for our Facebook challenge. Let's share the screen. Okay, let's move down and voila. So the last invitation, and I'd like you guys to playfully put yes in the comments if you're going to be doing this Facebook Live. Look, it's the last one that you're doing, okay? So even if you haven't done a Facebook Live the whole week, my invitation is that you do it now, okay? You do it tomorrow, you do it in the next 24 hours, because this is your time to take everything that we've done, to take in, embody what Drew was saying. Guys, look at my lighting. It's not perfect. I haven't been perfect today, but I've shown up. And I'd like you to show up. Write yes in the comments. Are you going to show up? Are you going to playful out? Because what your Facebook challenge is today is to share what you've seen and felt so far. Wait, is that it? That's not the one that we did. Just give me a second. Pause. Oh, yes. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. So to share what you've seen and felt so far from watching your videos back and witnessing yourself. So as you've been watching yourself, and even like Drew said, even if you haven't been doing a Facebook Live, you've still been witnessing your reflections, like what you've been experiencing. So what has been your reflections as you've been witnessing yourself, watching yourself? What has been your biggest reflection? Okay, that's your Facebook Live challenge. But before we complete, I would like for you guys to share in the chats, in the comments, what has been your favorite part of this challenge? What has been your favorite moment? What has been your biggest experience? Like, what has been the most fun that you've had during this challenge? And Drew, you can come back on. Let's see if we have any other questions. We want to see your gorgeous face. You know, you're not just a good-looking man. You're also an intelligent mind. See, I only hang out with good-looking people. Let's see any other questions before we go. What
That's a reflection.
I take that on, right? The good look. I see the good looking in you that is within me.
Yeah. Namaste.
Dee Dee says she's going to do her Facebook tomorrow. Absolutely no probs to do that tomorrow. Any questions before we complete? I'd love. Oh, actually, did you guys? Can I have some love? Did you have a good challenge? Did you have a great time in this challenge? Can I have some love in the comments, please? Because if you had a good time, I'd love for you to help me out. I need to ask you guys a favor, okay? As you know, I'm creating a 3-month program, and what I'm going to be doing is I want to create it from what you need. So I really need you to help me by filling in the survey. Can I have some yeses, please? I'm going to share the link. I'm just getting it now. I'm going to share the link in the comments. Please, if you found this valuable, if you've had a good time, complete this survey for me. And my AirPods have just, so I'm going to
Wow. Yeah, everything your sound just went completely different.
My AirPods die. It's okay. So if you can do that survey for me, that would be so great. Thank you so much. Drew, Thank you for sharing. Is there any last words of wisdom? Can you share 3 points? 3 things that
You're just
you want
milking
people
this,
to take
huh?
away.
3 points.
Yes.
Yeah, stop, feel, and tell the truth.
Stop, feel, and tell the truth. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, Drew. To all of you guys who have participated in the 5-day challenge, amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause. I mean, seriously, amazing. Well done. You guys have played full out. I hope you've had fun, and that's the most important thing. Drew and I were talking about that the other day. Is important just to have fun, to laugh at yourself, you know, just play full out. And thank you for your time. I love you. I see you. Namaste. And I look forward to connecting with you further. Feel free to send me a personal message. Tell me what you loved about the challenge, or just to say hi. Okay, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. And thanks for playing full out. If you're in the implementation group, we'll see you in the Zoom. Right, big hugs. Bye, guys. Mwah.